Now, with global trade tensions escalating and tariffs reshaping the alcohol industry, how will this impact the Philippine market? Today, we're speaking with Andrea Sambar, the CEO of Boozy.ph, the country's leading online liquor retailer, to break down what this means for consumers, businesses, and the future of the alcohol industry in the country. Hi, Andrea, and welcome.
Hi, morning, Maggie. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so Andrea, U.S. President Donald Trump proposed 200% tariff on European alcohol. That's sending shockwaves all around the globe. The proposed tariffs could push a $15 bottle of Italian Prosecco to $45. What was your initial reaction to this announcement?
You know what? When we heard that President Trump had plans on increasing tariffs, we were absolutely shocked. To the point of laughable, actually, because 200% is quite a large number amount. I mean, as you said, $15 suddenly turns to $45, right?
Yeah, 200%. It's crazy. Taking a look at our alcohol industry, let's break it down by category. There are three. There's the wines, the liquors, and the spirits. Yeah. Wine, we import 80% of that. The balance would be like the novelinos, right?
The local wines.
When it comes to whiskey, we import 100% of that. So that's where we could possibly really get hit. And the spirits, that's a category you can tell us about.
Right. So spirits is actually in the whiskey category in what we look into. So the imported spirits that we do receive, predominantly we get from the EU, right? So these are the scotches, the whiskey brands that we tend to enjoy on a daily basis. In terms of impact here in the Philippines, well, if the US were to impose these tariffs on the EU, we'll see an oversupply for sure of these whiskeys. These brands will need to find other and alternatives
to sell.
Exactly, right? Asia is a prime industry or a prime market for that, right? We'll see an influx of oversupply of these bottles coming into Asia, specifically the Philippines, because we are an emerging market for them.
Oversupply, that means, that means prices are going to go down. So given that glut, you think that prices will come down here in the Philippine alcohol industry, given the oversupply, and they're going to have to, when it comes to fine wine, that can stay.
Yes.
They don't have to sell that right away. But when it comes to the lower tier wine, that's got to go already. Yeah. When it comes to whiskey, that stuff will benefit from maturation. So, the oversupply, where again do you see that taking prices locally?
So as you did mention, great point. So these bottles, especially with wine, do have shelf life, right? So with lower tiered wines, we are seeing that prices should go down even further because of the oversupply that will be coming from the EU. Though we do need to balance it out with the foreign exchange, right? Because if the currency of the Philippine peso does weaken, we do expect that the cost of these bottles to be more expensive. But at the same time, we do see it balancing out because there will be such an oversupply of these, and that we do expect them to, again, land here in the Philippines or within Asia in general.
Okay.
Now, if we look on the other type, which is the whiskeys or the liquor, that's how we say, right? So these can actually benefit from extended maturity. They age so much better, right? Sitting in the barrel. So the brand owners could actually utilize this time to,
they can sell now or they can hold off that inventory. It really depends on when they want the money.
So either they look to for their cash flow now and try to sell off the bottles, or they can hold on to these casks, these barrels, and get better and more exquisite bottles in the long run, right? 25 years, 30 years down the road.
Going back to wine, the Philippines imports 80% of what we consume. Of that 80%, the lion's share, or 34%, this is based on the latest 2023 data from the IWSR, which is the International Wine and Spirits Board, London-based group. Most of our wine, 34%, is actually from the United States. Yes. And then followed by Australia with 13, and then after Spain. What does this tell you about how things could go?
Well, we've been predominantly an American wine drinkers, right?
We don't like the old world ones. That's expensive for the Philippine country.
So the wines that we get from California, those are what we like to drink because they tend to be sweeter. Right, it's much more palatable.
The taste profile,
really,
yeah,
for
they get
the
more
Filipino.
sun.
Exactly, right, riper fruits. So in terms of American wines, since they don't actually import or export quite a bit to the EU, we still have to be status quo here in the Philippines. Right?
Okay, all right. How significant do you think the price changes could be? So the oversupply in, following the tariffs, that's going to lead to more stuff, and they're going to have to sell in Asia. With more inventory, how much lower could prices get?
Definitely going to expect lower prices, especially for wines.
Would it be significantly lower?
Not significantly lower, I don't expect.
So
right?
that's how much percent?
If I would say around 5-10%, right? To give you an example, China actually did impose similar tariffs to Australia back in 2020. So they imposed similarly 200% tariffs on Australian wines. The Philippines at that point, 2020, our Australian wines was at its low because of the pandemic, but it rebounded, unlike the other wines, right? Because of the oversupply. So we did see them inflow into the Philippines. So it's something that we do expect with both American and EU wines.
How sensitive is the Philippine alcohol market to price fluctuations? How price sensitive are we?
We are very price sensitive. There definitely is brand loyalty. So we know how much our favorite bottles cost, and we know if these prices are going to go up or go down. Right? And even a simple 100 peso, 200 peso increase for these wines, we do feel it in our pockets. Right?
But we expect it because of excise taxes and sin taxes, that increases annually.
Yes.
So the expectation is that these prices never go down, right? Last year we saw a 6% rise on account of these taxes. What's your outlook for this year?
Well, ultimately, I do believe it's going to be part of the brand owners, right? Whether they do choose to absorb those costs or whether they choose to pass it on to the consumers. I think ultimately we'll have to take a look at how each of the brand players, their stock level and their inventory around the world, and how that impacts here in the Philippines.
Okay, and what is your key outlook, your outlook for the alcohol industry this 2025 against the changing environment, a rapidly changing environment?
You know what, 2024 was a challenging year for us, right? We still saw some effects from 2023 in the pandemic, so 2024 was definitely a challenging year. We do continue to see 2025 to be another challenging year, given that we've lost a lot of key markets such as pogo players who drank quite a bit and had a lot of alcohol consumption in previous years, right? So while we do expect prices to go down, we do still see that with the younger generation as well, and the trend nowadays that people are consuming less liquor, it to continue to decrease.
Yeah, there's also that trend of people being more health conscious in general, which we see in people favoring supposedly healthier alcohol brands and categories like tequila. All right, well, anyway, that's all the time we have for this. Hopefully, they're able to settle the tariff issues on a diplomatic level, so everything is steady for the industries globally.